What is up, everyone? What is up? How's it going? Happy Sunday. Sorry for the delay. I had an issue with my computer, and again, it was Windows that had the issue. Yeah, I'm still playing with how I can move everything over to Linux, but it's going to be a process. It's more about figuring out the teleprompter I have over here from Elgato, the key lights, and the Stream Decks. I have another Stream Deck laying around, so what I may do. Gotta set that background sound up. But yeah, I'm looking to move everything over. I have an extra Stream Deck, so I'm going to be eventually adding that into my Linux box so I can start playing with the commands before I move over the main stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a process. I don't know if I'll be able to move everything over because I have to make sure the restreaming works. Although I could revive my old project that I did where I did an RTMP restreamer once running off a Raspberry Pi. Basically, you send one signal in, and then it'll send it out to 3 different places on the behalf of that computer. Except for the TikTok side. Need to figure that out. May I interest you in a single stick of DDR4 3200 megahertz for the low price of $99? I can't believe it's that expensive. So, earlier today I was having issues with my firewall. While I was grocery shopping, I got the alert that my Unify said my network was down. Well, it couldn't connect to the controller. I'm like, huh, that's weird. Now, luckily, the alarm system runs off of Wi-Fi. I mean, not Wi-Fi, cellular. So I was able to at least confirm everything was cool. My dogs were okay, all that. Sorry, didn't really eat that much. I was working on a bunch of issues. Yeah, so I got the notification that the network was down. Came home after I put the groceries away, and the firewall was frozen or something. I had it monitoring all the states just to see what was going on. Because I was doing some diagnostics, but I left that state screen up for like several days, so I don't know if it was eating at the RAM. But anyway, it looks like I'm getting close to the threshold with how much crap I'm having my firewall run with Suricata that, well, I may be running out of memories, almost out of, between the caching and everything going on. I don't know, I'll have to double check it. But anyway, it looks like the memory may also be bad, which is why I have a new memory kit coming in. I mean, it sucks because I have to buy new memory, but also this will make it easier because I have... What's up, Hans? This guy over here, this firewall. So I'm doing a couple of things to future-proof it. So this is going to be the new firewall. This little guy over here. It's got some rack mount ears somewhere. I have to find where I put them. But yeah, so we're gonna have this guy over here. Now, what I also figured out what we're gonna do with this is, in the back here, there is the ability for you to put a PCI slot, and there's one there's two PCI Express slots actually. So, put that there. That's what I was looking for. It fell out of the box. I got a riser card for it. If you've never seen these, if you've done server builds, you probably have. So basically, this will take the PCI Express lane over on one side and just turn it sideways. So, install that in there. And why am I doing that? Well, that switch is only one only has 10 gigabit, 1 gigabit, and 100 megabit connections. So I can't do 2.5 or anything like that. So I have this wireless card over here. Not wireless card. Why do I keep saying that? This NIC card over here. This is one of those days where Chief just is tired, I guess. But anyway, this is the Intel. Maybe it'd be easier if I read it on the box, but I was just curious if there's any dead giveaway markings over here. I haven't actually looked at this guy. It's an Intel. Well, it's definitely an Intel. But it's the Intel i226. It's a dual 2.5 gigabit network card. The reason why is I'm going to turn this into the WAN card. This is going to be where my cellular and my main connection are going to come in. I think that'll be nice because let's say down the road I have my ISP or I happen to move into an area that I get more than 1 gigabit. Well, then I can allow for that. Now, on the internal side, as I said, there's 1 gigabit and 10 gigabit that it can do. So it's gonna... yeah, it's gonna, well, I'm gonna be upgrading the 10 gigabit. That's the plan. So I got a few things going. I have a question. When I do a firewall and NAS for my home lab, can I use one machine and Proxmox for both services? Can you? Yes, but ideally you want to have your firewall as a completely separate device. The reason why is because you want to isolate that for reliability and security reasons. But you totally can. But to be fair, you don't need that much power for pfSense. You can get away with, like, I'm using an Intel Atom Server Edition. Are you still using Pop OS? What do you think of the Cosmic D? I'm still on Pop OS 2204. I'm waiting for 2604 until I move over, and that'll have Cosmic. There was no point in me going to 2404 right now when 2604 is around the corner, and I like to do fresh installs whenever I go to major releases. What are home labs used for? Educating and upskilling and tinkering around with different things that we want. The reality is that a lot of people learn this the hard way. Virtual labs are a clean, sterile environment, whereas home labs, you can actually put your home lab on your resume very often, and that actually will count towards experience in a lot of people's eyes, or at least that you understand the concepts. How bad is it to use an air fryer on a wooden table asking for my table? I mean, it's not ideal, but you should put something in between it probably, like, because of things dripping down from an air fryer. So like a little, sheet or anything. I have a mini PC with an Intel N305, so the hardware can handle both, but I know, I can use it for one. I mean, my personal thing would be just, I would go towards the firewall. That's my personal bias, but go towards whatever you think is going to help you right now in the things you are interested in. So if you're looking to do more networking, do the firewall side. If you're looking to just do virtualization and see different environments and things you can host and all that, then go with Proxmox. You can use Proxmox to host, you know, pfSense, OpenSense, whatever the hell you want to use, but my advice would be not to. Thanks for the gifts over there, Darth Doctor Who. But yeah, do you have anything on the idea of running LoRaNet? Depends on what you're trying to do with it. I've been doing mostly on the Meshtastic side with LoRa, but there's a lot you can do with it. There's Halo, which is running Wi-Fi over the ISM band. You can run multiple miles for like up to 6 megabits per second, so it's very great in emergency situations, or you're in a long if you're in a wide field, say like you have multiple acres, like a farm, it's great for covering all of that. Of course, you're just like any traditional radio kind of thing, or any radio thing, not just the traditional ones like ham radio and CB and all that. Height is your friend. The higher you are, the more that your signal will be able to propagate. What power supply do you use? Do you focus on the efficiency, like the 80 plus efficiency certification? I don't focus on it too much, but generally I like to make sure that they are at least at minimum gold rated. Like Super Micro are generally gold rated, so I usually get those, but most of the power supplies, once you get to like the 800 or so watt range, especially the ones at Micro Center, they're usually gold or higher. Am I late? When did you start? You're not late. I was having Stream Machine issues. The Windows machine was messing up, and it turns out it was tied to an NVIDIA driver, because I updated to 590 Studio from my 581 Studio, 581.57 to be specific, and I was having a bunch of issues, and it just wouldn't let OBS launch. It kept saying out of VRAM memory, you know, out of VRAM issues, and I'm like, what the hell? I have 8 gigs on this card. I'm not even using 2, so what the hell's going on wrong? Yeah, it definitely was an NVIDIA issue. I will say that. I kept trying to poke at it, because we know my OBS is working fine, and I haven't changed anything. You recently installed Gen 2. Thoughts? Well, you must not like to touch grass, even more than those Arch people. Nor do you probably have a social life there. No offense. I'm just speaking from experience. RAM issues are what no one wants right now. Oh yeah, definitely. And before you came on, I was talking about how I actually had memory issues with my pfSense box. So, it has 16 gigabytes of memory on my firewall, which, if you already know about networking gear, is supposedly overkill for a home lab. pfSense is reporting I'm using 52% of that, so a little over 8 gigabytes between Suricata and a bunch of that. But when I started digging into the caching BSD was doing and all of that stuff, I was really only being left with about 2 gigabytes. So I'm definitely having a 32 gigabyte kit come in. Now, here's what is fortunate though. While memory prices definitely have been going insane, the prices of ECC memory have not been going up as dramatically, it seems. At least for DDR4. So I got 32 gigabytes of DDR4 coming in, but what I'm planning to do is take that 32 gig kit, put that in the brand new firewall that I have I'm going to build over here. The reason for that being that I can then build this firewall up, grab the config from the old one, probably get that up and running outside of streams in about 10-15 minutes. Thoughts on OpenSUSE? I haven't used OpenSUSE in years. I'm not against it, it's just not that popular outside of, I feel like, Germany. Yeah. Damn, I do touch grass though. What's your favorite OS? Nah. I mean, in the holistic thing, it would be definitely the Nix's, like FreeBSD and Linux. Now, there's many distributions of Linux. I have quite a few favorites that I use. Different ones. We are proud Arch users. No, we touch grass around here. So far, I've been messing with some VMs of TrueNAS and OpenSense just to get a feel of them before throwing them on the network. Fair enough. I've kept having people trying to recommend OpenSense to me. The problem with it for me is that I still haven't found any alternative that compares quite as well to PF Blocker NG. I know there's like Pi-hole and, you know, AdGuard or whatever it is and, you know, a bunch of other things. But PF Blocker NG allows me to have a lot of visibility into what my network is blocking and allowing, as well as geo-IP enrichment, reputation management, so I can blocklist things and then make sure, like, for example, the top 25,000 sites are always whitelisted, and I can manage it a little bit better. Personally been cheap getting laptops that have SSDs and RAM to salvage them. It's actually cheaper getting used PCs for their SSD and RAM than getting it new separately. Fair enough. And thank you for your lives. How you manage secrets? What about private keys? Well, secrets, you know, the best way is you keep secrets to yourself. You don't go around telling them. And, you know, you should always keep your keys private. You shouldn't let people just copy them. That's a joke. How do I manage secrets? I use Doppler. I've been using Doppler for about 2 years. What about private keys? Well, I mean, depends on what you need to do, but I manage all of that inside of Doppler. Doppler handles my secrets for me. It's easy to rotate them, easy to operate off of CLI or WebUI. They have a free plan. But if you look at any of my projects on my GitHub, you will see that it's basically written to have Doppler built in if it requires secrets management. Can Doppler handle the handcuff keys? No, unfortunately for that, you need the lock-picking set. Wait. Oh, that's right, I put my lockpicks, I think, upstairs. Yeah, actually, I was actually playing with my lockpicks. I was like, yeah, you need the lockpicks for that. Probably had a few sets around here. I have like a whole drawer of like thermal grease, though. Oh yeah, we're gonna use the Duro knot when I repaste the old firewall. What's up? I'm betting a lot of you are too young. Here we are. That's where the lockpicks are. Maybe they're somewhere. Yeah. Looks like I'll be in Chief's basement all for another day cuffed and shackled. Kinky. Why do you think there's no one good tool for both passwords and secrets? Because they're completely different things. Passwords are passwords and secrets are secrets. They have completely different criteria. Secrets, you need to be able to have auditability and visibility into different things with audit logs, as well as the ability to rotate secrets on a whim wherever possible. You need to share those out to different accounts. You need them in multiple environments. So there's a lot more that goes into secrets management than password management. They are completely different things. Because the more advanced version of password management would be more of a PAM, Privileged Access Manager. iFixit toolkit. No, that's my lockpicking set. That's my Sparrow's lockpick set. My iFixit kit is somewhere around here. I just organized everything, but as much as I like the iFixit kit, where is my favorite screwdrivers? Came across them a few years ago, and I just love them so much. This is the one I usually keep in the house. I keep a much smaller one in my backpack. And that smaller one, I've been able to confirm, TSA approved. Duronaut, I never heard of it. The best I could find was Cryonaut, different manufacturer. No, same exact one, different purpose. So, Cryonaut is like for your desktops, your regular stuff where you want things to, you know, work well, but you're going to have to repaste it every couple of years or so, ideally. Duronaut is for appliances like my computer, for example, my firewall, for example, where I don't want to repaste it for many years, and I want to make sure that it's more reliable and on a 24/7 mission. God, I cannot speak today. It's on 24/7 in operation. So, regular computing use is the... God damn it. So, for regular computing use, you get Cryonaut. For regular, like if you're doing servers, if you're doing firewalls, things that you're expecting to be on all the time, go with Duronaut. Same manufacturer. A lot of people don't know about Duronaut. Electric screwdriver? No. Ratchet. But it works really, really well. It's really nice. It's really solid. It's lasted me for quite a few years. I even use it in regular projects that I need to use around the house. And it comes with tons of bits. So for a regular screwdriver, like putting together a computer or something like that, this is great. You will probably want to get a magnetizer, demagnetizer, because they don't come magnetized by default. But you can magnetize them yourself if you want. Can you have your Duro on your computer? You can use Duronaut if you want. It's more of a performance issue. Your friend is doing it. I don't know, I'm just really busy. That's more of the issue with that one. Thoughts on slightly liquid metal in laptop? I wouldn't put liquid metal in a laptop because that's something that's going to be moving very often. And liquid metal is is electrically conductive. Hold on. Can you give an example of how to auto-rotate secrets with Doppler and Node.js, latency, and code environment? Well, wherever the secrets are being read off of code Node.js, you would basically just have it variabilized, and then you would initialize the, you'd have a module for all of that stuff to help manage that. So basically how it's going to do is instead of storing on the machine, whenever it needs to call that secret, it will then go and pull it from Doppler. Or it can pull it down and then cache it. So it's a very basic concept inside of Enterprise. But Doppler, I think, does it the most user-friendly way. I wish I could use it at work. But, you know, it's the same concept around, what is it, Azure Secrets, Google Secrets, AWS Secrets Manager, HashiCorp Vault. There's probably a few others out there. Like, I know Delinea has their Secrets Manager. I think Bitwarden also came out with their own Secrets Manager. And let's see, we can go to the documentation. Here we go. Alright, if we go to the documentation, we can see, Doppler CLI, hold on. I mostly am used to their Python stuff, so I basically do Python, but if we look at the SDKs over here, there you go, Node.js. You just have this Doppler installed. This module installed via npm. Call upon that whenever you're going to need the secret. And request second in parallel. What about latency? Then you should be stashing it locally if you need to do it. Or at least have some kind of a refresh timer. Have you ever been with a transaction? With what? Like what? Do I get down and dirty with my bank when I'm doing transactions? I am not understanding what you mean by that. You need this coughing to stop. Hate wheezing. Well then, chill on the bong, bro! I'm teasing. But But yeah, so I'm sorry I was late today. Totally not my fault. It was the Windows Stream box, and it was the NVIDIA drivers, as I was talking about earlier. So let me see where we can start pulling up a video. By the way, thank you all for the review on stream videos. I'm probably not going to be able to get through a lot of these, so I will be skipping around. But I did want to at least start with this one over here. So, Kara, one of my mods, shared this with me. The California Drop and Delete Act, which, if I recall, yeah, this is the law that I think is really great and should actually be common practice around the entire world. Which basically, the issue that we currently have is, as much as I love Delete Me, okay? Y'all know I've used Delete Me for years. I need to get reaffiliated with them. That's a whole other thing. The issue is that you have all these different data brokers, and if you're not aware of these different data brokers, you're not going to know what data about yourself is out there, and you need to clean that data up, of course, because most of the leaks that we're seeing are coming from data brokers that are not being responsible or... well, they're not ethical to begin with, in my mind, being a data broker. But they're not responsible with your data, and they're, you know, being targeted heavily. So Delete Me, Incogni, Aura, all these different platforms, OneRep, you name it, find me a company, they all basically are solving an issue that should have not ever existed in the first place. And this, from California, helps out, because... this is going to let you delete the information data brokers have about you, control the sale of your personal information. So this is on top of the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, which is very akin to the GDPR the EU has. There's differences, of course, but we're not going to get into that. But anyway, the Delete Act, as they're saying, is the first of its kind. It allows consumers to request the deletion of their data from over 500 data brokers in one request. Okay? The first in the world to provide this platform. One of 4 states who require data broker registration. So that is another thing, is that I think if in order for you to be a data broker of any kind, you should be registered. We should have a database to know who is out there when issues happen, and then eventually can actually hold you accountable for said actions. But the thing that I'm loving that they're going the extra step for is essentially they're replacing the businesses that, I'm not saying they're bad or anything like that, they're actually doing a good thing, but they shouldn't have existed in the first place. So you won't need Incogni, you won't need Aura, you won't need Delete Me, you won't need all these things. You will need to stay on top of this information, though. Now, what I'm curious about is that if there are issues that go on, well, here's the thing. They only say 500 data brokers. I know for a fact there's more than that. But we're going to see what comes about with this. But right now, Cal Privacy must create a platform that allows consumers to submit a request to delete their personal information, provides these requests to all registered data brokers, is free and easy to access on their website. But this is the kicker. They have to register with Cal Privacy every year. Process data deletion requests submitted through the drop system. Report the types of information they collect and share. Undergo audits to make sure they're following the Delete Act. So the question that I have is, I may have to follow up with someone that knows more about the law than myself, and my own personal lawyer may not be the best one for this because he's not familiar with California law. But my question is, with all of this, is it a requirement for anyone to collect data on a California citizen to be registered with the state in order to do that? But then again, how is this going to work with, say, international data brokers? Just saw someone get hit by a car on a live stream. Yeah, seen that happen in real life. It ain't pretty. But yeah, this is going to be really great news. California has really been leading the way with a lot of privacy regulations, and I cannot help but applaud them. California may have a lot of their own issues. I used to live in Malibu. But I will most certainly tell you that they're at least doing better. It won't. It's for domestic only. Okay. That's what I thought. That's going to be an issue. You're still going to need the delete me's, which do international data brokers and everything, but it's a major step forward. Saw a video of a person becoming a human pancake, slightly inedible. Thank God Elon is working on self-driving cars since at least 2013. I think Waymo's got him beat. Alright. So, let's go on to the next thing. Vampire, don't know if they're in the chat right now, sent me this video here. Banned Mac Linux. Are they talking about Asahi Linux? My understanding is Linus Torvalds actually really likes the idea of Asahi. Because I think he likes the MacBook, but doesn't like the operating system, of course. If the MacBook were cheaper, it'd actually be a really great laptop. But yeah. Wait, what? Wow. That is effed. I'm curious what the reasoning is. Is it muted? Hold on. That might be on me. There's been a few things that I had to, fix. Hold on. Hold on.
Front left.
Okay, it's slightly muted. Yeah, it's an NVIDIA thing. Because you see, I had to go in to the NVIDIA. I literally had to hit test, have it come out one speaker directly on that device, and then it woke it up. And it was also only at 35%. So, yeah. The long and short of this video that we saw, sorry about that, at least we have it fixed for the video moving forward, is that if you have Asahi Linux installed and it sees the GPU driver on non-Mac OS, it will not let you use PayPal at all until you install your Mac operating system back on your Mac hardware. I don't know why PayPal does that, because it's web software. You have nothing installed. Anyway. What is this? Tesla doors not dooring?
Tesla's door handles are so dangerous, they're getting banned.
Oh yeah, I saw this video. Yeah, I've always complained about the Tesla door handles, and I've said that they're a security risk, especially in emergencies. Like, there's no reason why your door should just be an electronic button, and then you have to know where the manual release is. Like, there's a whole other release inside a Tesla. That makes no sense to me. Because when you're in an accident, or you're in a situation that you may be panicking, like, God forbid you drive off a bridge and you're now in a river and you have to get out of the car quick, okay? You want a mechanical connection. That's just the honest truth. Do you like emulation gaming? Yeah. I mean, I just haven't done it much lately. But yeah, so I've complained about these doors for a long time.
Elon decided that he wanted to make their cars look aerodynamic and make flush finger grabbers, they also ridiculously made them heavily electronic dependent. And now there's multiple fixes incoming. The US is investigating the over dozens of deaths that have happened in crashes with
there have been deaths,
that could have been prevented had there been a much more mechanical approach to
What did I say?
Not to mention the multiple lawsuits going on with them. And that's coming after they've started to lose court cases regarding how their self-driving tech has been more responsible in accident deaths than they want to admit. And now it's also being reported
we talked about that too.
is getting rid of those retractable door handles as well. Unfortunately, there's other car brands that have adopted these types of latches, and now they're gonna have to design something that works the same way that nearly all cars prior to them operated.
So what you're saying is Tesla has to invent a new way to have the door handle be mechanical. When they could have just all along seen what everyone else did. All right. But anyway, what's this? China's DRAM giant Hans put this video up. Are they going to fix the DRAM crisis? Oh, is that new foundry CXMT, I think it was?
DRAM has been the graveyard of semiconductor empires. Competing in this market is not for the faint of heart. After decades,
next they will invent square wheels.
Consolidated to just three big companies: Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. But now they're being challenged by a new kid on the block, a Chinese DRAM monster emerging out of Hefei, Changxing Memory Technologies, or CXMT.
Okay.
In today's video, we profile the third of the People's Republic of China's semiconductor titans, CXMT. But first, let me pitch a few things. First is the Patreon and the Early Access tier is the best way to directly support the channel, plus you get the references. And second is the Asianomic newsletter, audio
here's the interesting thing.
offered through the Stratechery Plus bundle. Listen to Ben Thompson and me. Two great offerings. Go check them out. Now, back to
I just had this thought.
the Chinese.
Okay, but sorry, I had to pause that. Don't you find it ironic? Trump came into office trying to bolster American industry and American jobs, and he drove the entire United States consumer base, because we all need computers these days. We all need products that use DRAM. Even your TV does these days because they're smart TVs. To have to rely on foreign sources because he was pushing for AI so hard with his buddies that Micron, the only American manufacturer of DRAM and SSDs, decided, hey, we want to focus solely on the AI market. We're killing our consumer base. And now we're going to have the choice between two South Korean companies and China. Wonder what the NSA NSA is going to be screaming about, because another part, so let's say you get an American vendor like HP or Dell, because in the United States government contracts you have to use an American source computer. From last I remember, so I dealt with a few federal contractors when I was dealing with their IT systems when I was in MSP, and we had to get them Dell. They couldn't accept Lenovo. That's cool. But seeing as now we can't guarantee, certain components to be part of the, supply chain. You see where I'm going with that, but yeah. What am I eating? I'm eating these, protein chips. They're kind of addictive. They're, not made with potato. They're made with chicken.
Tried to do DRAM many times before.
Isn't that Musk's specialty, reinventing something that already exists, but terribly? Yeah, unlike Apple that actually does it okay.
They had finished a silicon gate NMOS technology that can produce a 1K DRAM chip about 5 years after the Japanese and Americans did it.
Interesting.
And over the years, the Chinese Academy of Sciences announced various DRAM milestones: 4K in 1978, 16K in 1981, and 64K in 1985. Chinese announcements lagged the leading-edge Japanese or Korean announcements by maybe 1 to 3 years. Despite the heritage of reaching technical milestones, the Chinese struggle to achieve commercial success in these days. perhaps in part due to financial struggles as well as insufficient transfers from lab to fab. One of China's most well-respected semiconductor makers was Wuxi Huajing, formerly known as Factory 742.
Say that 10 times fast.
Catch-ups, they fell hard at the 256K DRAM level. A product was not released until 1993, about 7 years behind leader Samsung. As I covered in a prior video, Huajing eventually fell into a crisis thanks to excess bureaucracy, a few bad technical choices in importing foreign technology, and the Asian financial crisis. Then in the 1990s,
They had a financial crisis, I guess?
Shougang NEC produced 64 megabit DRAM based on an NEC DRAM design. However, an ambitious fab expansion was halted due to bad market conditions in 2001, and the company faded from relevance. The formidable Chinese semiconductor foundry SMIC did produce DRAM at their 12-inch wafer fab.
Why do we need this long of a history?
But
Like, don't get me
DRAM prices
wrong.
plunged again, and the company got sued by TSMC for IP theft.
This is interesting.
Facing financial strain in 2007, they started slowly backing away.
I care more
from
about what's
DRAM.
happening in the market right now.
In early 2008, they agreed to sell their DRAM fab facility to foundry customer Kimanda, exiting the space altogether at a loss of several millions of dollars. So the TLDR of this long but sad history: mainland China is the world's largest semiconductor
Never
market,
thought
consuming
Palantir
an
crashes out
estimated
at Steve. Oh yeah, I saw that video. I have it in my queue, but I haven't really gotten around to it.
40% of industry production. Yet the top DRAM suppliers are headquartered
We'll probably
in
put
South
that one
Korea
up on
or
next.
the United States. I do want to know.
I need to do
that
some
there are
current
4
news, I
large
guess.
DRAM factories in China, for instance. SK Hynix has a very large one in Wuxi, though the United States government has prevented the company from keeping it up to date. The issue with competing in DRAM, as you might have noticed from the brief historical overview, is that DRAM is a commodity subject to wild price swings. Memory buyers are finicky.
There also was a memory pricing issue, or
DRAM is tied to larger consumer
pricing.
market trends.
There was a price
5G
fixing
smartphones,
issue
or
in the
ChatGPT
mid 2000s that they identified.
When times are good, the big buyers tend to overorder, driving up prices. But if things turn, and they can turn very fast, then those orders can quickly evaporate. The issue is that researching, developing, and mass-producing new DRAM products is capital-intensive. Building a modern fab of any size takes far more time than the market allots you. So if things turn and orders are canceled, then suppliers are left in the lurch, potentially on the hook for billions of dollars. Therefore, to compete, you not only need technical prowess and operational excellence, but also stable financing. So it makes sense then that the Korean memory makers are part of larger conglomerates.
Right.
Samsung,
It is a very
Samsung
expensive
Electronics
thing.
and Samsung Group, and SK Hynix to SK Group.
Yeah, and this also, excuse me, I had someone I came across that was saying, why doesn't, we should have Valve making our their own memory and, start selling it to the market and everything. I'm like, even if Valve were wanting to do that, which they shouldn't, because it's going to take multiple years to get the expertise, more years on top of that to build the factories that are actually required to do that, you would be looking at least a 10-year investment before you would actually even have memory. And I don't know how comfortable I am with Valve stretching too far and too wide, because it is a very expensive business and a costly business. I wish China would make their own stuff. They've been making a lot of their own stuff. They're gaining ground. That's what we're talking about.
Right, with telecom, energy, and chemical arms. Hefei is the capital of Anhui province and boasts a population of about 9 million people. The
Okay.
population is comparable to that of Australia and Switzerland, while the physical size
His
is only
subtitles
about
say
that
Austria.
of Jamaica.
Yeah.
It is an ancient city and situated quite close to metropolises like Shanghai or Hangzhou, but remains less well known. The published photos look quite nice. Like a few other Chinese cities, Hefei has a state-owned investment fund doling out funds for industrial development in local areas. In 2008, it invested in the OLED company BOE Technology. I profiled them in a prior video. BOE
Okay.
went public and grew into a global giant, motivating another move by Hefei into semiconductor memory, DRAM in particular.
Okay.
Seeing China's dependence on foreign DRAM makers as a national security risk, Hefei investment officials reached out to a Chinese memory company called GigaDevice about founding a domestic DRAM manufacturer. Launched in 2016,
So the opposite of what America did.
the effort was internally called Project 506 and led to the creation of Inotron Memory. The company later changed its name to CXMT in 2019. Hefei pledged land and reported $7.2 billion into the effort. Additional financial support came from China's Integrated Circuit Industry Investment Fund, nicknamed the Big Fund, which the State Council set up in 2014 to grow its semiconductor industry.
Okay.
What is GigaDevice, or as they were once called, Zhaoyi Innovation? GigaDevice's founder, Zhu Yiming, is a relatively young founder. After graduating from Tsinghua University, he received an education in the United States at Stony Brook College.
Okay.
After working
Never
in
heard of that
Silicon Valley
college.
for a few years, he returned to Beijing to found GigaDevice. They started producing SRAMs, small microcontrollers, and then NOR flash memory. NOR flash is a predecessor to NAND. It's
Right.
not a large market, but an easier one to enter. NOR flash chips do not hold a lot of data, but vendors often use them for storing the firmware and codecs for smaller internet-connected devices like earbuds. This is because these chips are fast, quite reliable, and long-lasting. GigaDevice competed against Taiwanese producers like Winbon and Macronix, becoming a respected industry leader. And in 2020, Apple chose to use their NOR flash chips for the AirPods product, displacing Winbon.
Okay.
Zhu Yiming led both GigaDevice and CXMT, though today he serves only as chairman, not CEO. GigaDevice provided the design services for the memory and purchased the supply. CXMT would do the
They found Unix version 4. Oh, really interesting.
How did CXMT
Where'd they
learn
find
the
it?
complicated art and science of making DRAM? In a 2019 presentation, Zhu Yiming noted that CXMT's technology base came from two sources. The first is the bankrupt German DRAM manufacturer Kimanda. Kimanda had once been part of Infineon, which in turn was once part of the German giant Siemens. As part of a restructuring, Infineon spun them off as a separate company in 2006. Kimanda had been a technical R&D.
It's interesting how all these different
especially in
companies,
technologies relating to stacked
are nowhere,
capacitor
but yet
cells,
they've
where
built
the
this
capacitors go upwards. Though
massive
most
entity.
Of their actual production were of trench capacitors, which go down into the substrate. At one point, they had been the second largest DRAM vendor, but in 2008, they fell into the red due to unfavorable memory prices. Despite a €280 million rescue package from the German government, Kimanda fails to survive the global financial crisis and goes insolvent. Their
Oh,
patents were
damn.
sold to a Canadian IP company called Wyland.
That's from the Great
which then
Financial
licensed those
Crash.
patents to CXMT maybe in 2019. Drew mentioned that they acquired over 10 million technical documents and 2.8 terabytes of Kimanda's data.
Oh, really?
Like I
That's
said,
interesting.
Kimanda had been a technical pioneer, but their technology will have been at least 8 years old when it passed to CXMT. It might not have been super useful in terms of cutting-edge production, but I reckon it provided formidable air cover from litigation. The second source, and probably the more relevant one, came through the Japanese company Elpida. Elpida is the result of a merger between NEC and Hitachi's DRAM operations. In 2013, Micron bought Elpida. In 2016, Elpida's former president, Yukio Sakamoto,
Which means
set up a consulting company called Sino.
my live bot didn't go
Sino
off on
hired
Discord.
employees from both Elpida
Oh, right.
and Power Chip Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, a Taiwanese memory company. They then joined the Hefei project. However, technology acquisition can only be a temporary thing. It is critical that a transfer is complete, with CXMT producing their own innovations and patents. And if you measure innovation by patents, they did.
Morning, Charlie.
By the end of 2017, a year after founding, CXMT had applied for 354 patents and planned to apply for 1,509 more in 2018. The speed with which Inotron, or CXMT, took off is impressive even by semiconductor
It didn't
manufacturing
start when it
standards.
restarted.
Right off the bat, the company started on their fab.
Why does the building logo look like AI? That's a
in
good
March
question.
2017. The roof was sealed in June 2017, and equipment started moving in the following quarter. Equipment move-in was completed in early 2018, and they started working on producing engineering samples of their first product, an 8GB LPDDR4 DRAM produced using a 19nm process node. Is that good? As you probably know, process node naming for semiconductor logic chips like CPUs and GPUs, that's just all marketing. But with memory, the naming still has some ground in reality. It still tells you the lithography half pitch. But companies in the industry are not excited about flagging this sort of information, so at 20 nanometers, they started calling the nodes 1X, 1Y, and 1Z. Yes, the names are weird. So anyway, DDR4 DRAM is an older product. Samsung first demonstrated prototypes in 2012, and they, SK Hynix, and Micron all started shipping it in volume in 2014. So when CXMT started shipping DDR4 products in 2019, they were about 5 to 7 years behind the leading edge.
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of Chinese companies for many years, they couldn't really innovate on their own, they had to play catch up. We're now getting to the point where they're kind of catching up, and then they'll soon be able to innovate, but we'll see how the future holds.
Yes, they were behind, but in shipping a product, CXMT evaded the sad fate of another Chinese DRAM startup, Fujian Jinhua Integrated Circuit. Fujian Jinhua was founded at the same time as CXMT in 2016. And
I
was
love that
funded by
Steam
the
made a
Fujian
software to allow
Provincial
games run on
Government.
ARM64
similar
computer.
model
Yeah, we
to
got some about
CXMT.
that too.
They recruited
Don't know how many videos we'll get through tonight,
opening a design
'cause,
center there that catered
I
to
came
designers
late
who did not want
due to
to
that.
across the strait, which is not an
Are we bullish on CXMT? Yeah, we probably are. Unless Micron makes a return to the consumer space and, kisses all of our asses.
reasonable request. But in doing so, they eventually ran afoul of the sharp-elbowed Micron. In 2017, Micron sued them and the Taiwanese foundry UMC for stealing trade secrets. UMC had apparently acquired and passed over trade secrets as part of a DRAM project they accepted from Fujian. This litigation got very complicated, and overall it was a strange legal case. But the whole thing was eventually settled in the end, with UMC agreeing to pay $60 million in fines. The case also brought the wrong type of attention onto Fujian's practices. In October 2018, the first Trump administration placed Fujian Jinhua on an entity list, locking out their access to American-made semiconductor technologies. This crippled their ability to compete with CXMT, which seemed to have taken greater pains to show the legitimate origins of their IP. CXMT has since sprinted ahead in the market. You shouldn't feel too comfortable with CXMT's 5-year DRAM gap because the company very quickly made ground. Throughout 2020, the Hefei fab ramped up production despite COVID restrictions, eventually making about 40,000 wafers per month by the end of the year. Sounds like a lot, but that is just 3% of the market. Samsung put out an estimated 500,000 wafers per month in 2020. SK Hynix did 400 to 450,000 wafers per month. Those guys were already moving on to the next generation of DRAM products.
Okay.
So CXMT needed more capacity and to catch up. In 2020, they raised another $2.2 billion from China's Semiconductor Big Fund to help set up the next phase of their fab in Hefei. In 2021, they started working on the next generation of products, DDR5. The memory standards group JEDEC published the standard in 2017, and Samsung produced the first prototypes the following year. Both Samsung and SK Hynix started shipping DDR5 in volume in mid-2021 using a 10 nanometer class, or D1A, process node. Their nodes incorporate EUV, which is not available to the Chinese. Despite these shortcomings, CXMT started ramping up its DDR5 products to the market in late 2024, closing the gap with the big three from 5 to 7 years to about 3 to 4, depending on how you market. Moreover, it's a good product. Despite being produced with a 1Z process node marked somewhere between 15 to 16 nanometers, it has a bit density, or unit of storage per unit area, of about 0.239 gigabits per square millimeter, which is denser than what Samsung and SK Hynix have. It was rumored that CXMT DRAM units were qualified and adopted by major Chinese smartphone vendors like Xiaomi and Transsion.
Okay, that would actually explain a lot of the DRAM things that they've been going on with their phones. Because, I've been kind of wondering how they got a lot of their chips, but yeah.
How is CXMT catching up so fast? Several reasons. Some related to the company.
Corporate
and some
espionage.
related to the
No, I'm just
product.
kidding.
First, the company is spending money like there is no tomorrow, investing billions of dollars into new equipment and R&D. Second, they hired a huge number of R&D staff from abroad, mostly South Korea and Taiwan, to transfer technology know-how to their native Chinese staff. Both CXMT and GigaDevice relentlessly poach talent from Taiwan and Korea. Nikkei Asia reported in 2018 how they like to target key regional managers at existing Taiwanese memory companies like Nanya, offering them a salary package 3 to 5 times higher to...
I can't help but laugh at that name. Who'd you acquire? Nanya. Who'd you acquire? Nanya. Nanya Tech.
and bring over their whole team. In 2024, the Korea Economic Daily looked up 300 CXMT employees on LinkedIn and found that 35% of them were Korean, former semiconductor veterans with many years at Samsung or SK Hynix. Third, the technical nature of the DRAM product itself makes it hard for the big three to build.
Second home lab for cheaper.
DRAMs are produced.
Here's the problem.
Standards like DDR4.
Tariffs. Trump is really effing up the entire economy in so many different ways. Another one being this whole push for AI and thinking that it, like, the reality is if you look at stocks right now, we're running on a whole bunch of AI hopium. That's what we're doing right now. It's not a good thing for any of us. This a movie? No. It's a video on YouTube.
Sure, compatibility. The specs are decided by industry-wide organizations like the aforementioned JEDEC. There is some room to add a special spin within these specs. For example, producers can work out a better internal design, add unique features on top of the spec, or produce the product with a more advanced node. But in the end, it's still a DDR4 or DDR5 memory module. It's not possible to achieve the same differentiation as with logic chips, which can be built with proprietary architectures and IP like x86, ARM, or even CUDA. Finally, and most significantly,
is it smart to put some money on gold as CEOs are selling their stocks? I hate to break it to you, you should have been doing that for a long time. Silver's gone through the roof. That's the one of the metals people like always forget about, silver. So if we actually look at, we'll take a break from this video for a sec. I'm just going to show you something. JM Bullion. If we look at the price of gold and silver right now, where's the graph they had? Hold on. Ah, there we are. It's gone up even more since I last saw it. So look at the gold price chart, okay? 1.4% up today. It's doing really well. Do not get me wrong. In a year, it's been 64%, right? Okay? Not bad, considering that. Look at silver, though. Let's put that at 1 year. It's gone up 165%. Everyone talks about gold, and I understand gold is a valuable thing, but silver is far more accessible. I bought silver shares, and there's silver in my safety deposit box. Not a whole lot, but enough that, you know, hey, if I, need to, I could pay a couple of months of bills. But, yeah, if you look at the gold silver, silver is one of the things I was telling people for a long time, particularly IRL. That's what I would buy. Do you buy any crypto? Yeah, I've bought cryptocurrency. I've been in for years. I'm not as heavy into it. It's more of a, I put enough money in that I can afford to lose it kind of situation. Whereas I'll put my real money into my Roth IRA and metals. Guess it's time to sell my silver to buy some silver share. But yeah, silver has really been doing amazingly well. Which blows my mind, because, like, only a year ago, it was like $30. What I'm kicking my pants about was I'm like, oh man, I should be buying more silver. I should buy more silver.
You don't need the most advanced
Get back to
or
this.
equipment to produce a leading-edge product. Leading-edge DRAMs are
Platinum's another one they forget, you're right.
To high single-digit nanometers.
Palladium.
A 10-nanometer pitch is quite achievable with older 193-nanometer immersion technology and quadruple patterning. So, you can buy trailing-edge equipment from suppliers or second-hand resellers, and then push your big, young, and hungry R&D staff to run more experiments across the whole problem space to slowly grind out tiny optimizations that add up. In other words, the DeepSeek approach.
Really?
Case in point. The last major architectural change came nearly 20 years ago in 2007, when the industry switched from the 8F squared cell to the smaller 6F
I wouldn't say
squared
switch,
cell
I'd
to
say keep
achieve
a balance.
cost reductions and grow
Diversify your
capacity.
portfolio.
For next generation DRAM, the industry is deciding whether to adopt the 4F squared cell design, which is a 33% shrink of the 6F squared and is thus quite similar to it, but it does bring a bunch of serious manufacturing challenges.
Like
In
your mama.
2023, CXMT researchers presented a fascinating paper discussing their work in overcoming scaling challenges relating to 4F squared cells. They presented an 8 gigabyte DRAM test chip fabricated with an access transistor they call
Wait, what?
a vertical channel transistor, but looks to me like a gate all-around transistor.
Huh.
This is new stuff, and more than a few people noticed. Dylan Patel of Semi-Analysis, accused them of breaking sanctions. CXMT this
It's funny how, like, people keep saying, China's breaking sanctions, China's breaking sanctions. The reality is, if you back someone into a corner, they're gonna find out interesting ways to do it. And a lot of times they'll figure out how to do it by going through the loopholes. If anything, this impresses me that they can do these kind of things with the limitations that they're given. And on another note, this is also, I think, at the USA's detriment. While we try to sanction them to prevent them from advancing, we simultaneously prevent ourselves from being able to advance in the US and other countries, because competition breeds a better product for everyone. But ultimately, let's put it this way. They were competing with us, but we weren't competing with them. So, competition brings out the best in us.
and gave a statement to South China Morning Post saying that this was pure research and had nothing to do with current production. DDR5 is still ramping up, but I wonder how soon before we start seeing some 4F squared leapfrogging. CXMT is no doubt an R&D leader, but in terms of sheer production capacity, they still have ground to make up.
Right.
The market analysis firm Tech Insights estimated that in Q3 2024, CXMT had about 8% market share. Meanwhile, Samsung will have 38%, SK Hynix 27%, and Micron 19%. CXMT is projected to grow that market share, 8%, to about 12.5% by 2029, thanks to a new Beijing fab they're working on, but still remain in fourth place. They must keep on spending in order to take ground, but will have plenty of money.
So what I'm hearing is eventually it's going to be cheaper for you to get a plane ticket to go to Shenzhen, get a bunch of CXMT memory, and then bring that back than it will be to buy it at your local Micro Center.
Spend. In April 2023, they thought about going public on the Shanghai Star Stock Exchange at a valuation of about 14.
I'm going to keep this running. I got to get a refill. My water's around the corner. I'll be listening.
Raised about $1.5 billion.
So, y'all will get the Hassan chair treatment for 5 seconds.
Hefei and others at a $19.5 billion valuation. The Chinese DRAM beast continues to see its star rise, driven forward by relentless R&D and state funds. The big three can't really rely on export controls for this one. They need to push harder and stock up cash for the fight ahead. And it can now be said, without a doubt, that China has a domestic leading-edge DRAM supplier of their very own. A 50-year dream finally fulfilled. Alright everyone, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, sign up for the Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time.
NVIDIA had
We ruffled some military-industrial feathers recently with our video about Palantir, the US government's favorite weapons and surveillance software company that just recently partnered with NVIDIA, which is what our video is about. As a reminder, Palantir is the company leading the charge on what we think is a path to global surveillance, so it probably should come as no surprise that Palantir quickly found our video. What did come as a surprise to us was that Palantir bothered to respond to it, and actually it looks like we're going to Washington, D.C. to talk to them. This is Eliano A. Yunus, the head of strategic engagement at Palantir and the guy who responded to us. Eliano Yunus previously worked for an organization that has defended domestic surveillance of Americans as a positive, with the organization saying that facial recognition concerns and false arrests are merely hypothetical, except that they've happened even back when that was written. More recently, Yunus has been cited by Wired as kicking multiple...
I forgot to turn my microphone back on. So, Vampire, I was saying from the heart. But yeah, you know it's going to be great when Gamers Nexus starts out a video that way. Yeah. Oh, this will be fun.
Reporters out of their booth at events and as threatening to call the police on journalists for participating in a public conference. Seems a little sensitive. Yunus is also a big fan of AI.
Oh yeah, in the previous video, by the way, what I was saying, because I think the mic was off, was soon it'll be cheaper for us to get a plane ticket to go to Shenzhen, get our memory over there from CXMT, than it will be to buy it at your local Micro Center.
Says that, quote, AI will give American workers superpowers, end quote. The superpower is unemployment or wrongful imprisonment. And Eliano Yunus says that we're fear-mongering. That's right. The guy at Palantir says we're the ones fear-mongering. So here's Eliano Yunus's boss, not...
Personally, I won't trust anything Palantir says.
Fear-mongering when he says that safety is assured only by making other people scared.
And safe means that the other person is scared.
Our product is used on occasion to kill people.
And you know, I constantly...
His friend changed it.
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
That last one's actually a leak. It's the next 10-person kill streak unlocked. Except instead of in Call of Duty, it's IRL. Researching Yunus more, we also found this tweet saying, quote, if Palantir is the spooky surveillance company with skeletons in its closet like the foreign X accounts and the Guardian journalists make it out to be, then why are the world's largest companies betting their futures on Palantir software, end quote. That's why. That's why they're betting on it. It's because it's the
some Chinese RAM whenever she traveled to China.
Like,
yeah, there you go.
Specifically the reason that they're betting on it. Anyway, there's a lot to respond to today because
Wait, what did he say?
And why are the world's largest companies betting their futures on Palantir software? End quote. That's why. That's why they're betting on it. It's because it's the spooky surveillance software. Like, that is specifically the reason that they're betting on it. Anyway, there's a lot to respond to today because Yunus and Palantir responded to our video, so consider this our response to their response to our video, where we're going to respond to the response that they responded with. Let's check it out.
That's a lot of
This video with
responses.
our brand new limited edition Disappointment Tour PC Build t-shirt on store.gamersnexus.net, recapping all of the worst hardware events in 2025 and one banned tour date style shirt on the back. The front has an array of GPUs from the big video card vendors in various states of being redacted, with a censored GN logo at the bottom as a
Redacted.
throwback to our most prized time of the year, when we got Bloomberged. This is shown on the back of the t-shirt with other dates. The shirts are available in a comfortable 100% cotton with black or a highly breathable tri-blend design with vintage coloring on the logo print. The back of the shirt has the best of the worst, referencing AI, what we thought was NVIDIA manipulating the press, Intel being in total freefall, the tariff situation, and more. Buying one of these directly supports another year of independent reporting and coverage from us, as we're majority funded these days by the audience, not by corporate backers, as we've successfully wound down the percentage of ads we sell to revenue we bring in from public support, like from our audience. Thank you for all of that. Head over to store.gamersnexus.net to support us directly for 2026 by buying a Disappointment Tour t-shirt.
What do you think of the rose over on the TikTok?
The irony isn't
Grubby
lost
cat.
on us today that we just spent a week obsessively digging into the historical background of high-ranking staff at a surveillance company, Palantir, and Palantir CEO and man one scimitar short of accurate Drizzt Stewart and cosplay, Alex Karp,
Jesus.
has some 2004 era Xbox lobby shit talking that he does, and we're no strangers to shit posting. In fact, it's kind of one of our key areas of expertise, so we're happy to engage in a shitpost war with a war profiteer. After taking a quick break to celebrate Christmas with NVIDIA using our sick Photoshop skills and not AI, we're focused on Palantir. Palantir is the company that markets its software as being,
Our product is used on occasion to kill people.
and Jensen Huang is the guy who just said that NVIDIA is going to.
Accelerate everything Palantir does.
Now here's what went down. GNCA viewer and haver of excellent username Tux Sudo on Twitter tweeted, quote, "Wasn't ever expecting Gamers Nexus to make a video on Palantir, but it's become so prevalent and invasive, here we are." End quote. Eliano Yunus, head of...
That actually is something that's interesting to be pointed out, because I've talked about Palantir and a lot of these other things for many years, and was like, Chief, save some tinfoil for the rest of us. And here we are now, people actually picking up on why I do a lot of the things I do. Like, I started using Linux around the Windows Vista eras. A lot of people thought I was crazy. Hell, only 5 years ago, when I started making content on TikTok and all of that, people were calling me crazy and saying, dude, stop trying to make gaming on Linux a thing. The year of the Linux desktop is never going to happen. Nobody's ever going to want to actually use Linux that isn't technical. And here we are with SteamOS. Here we are with the Steam Deck, Proton. A lot of people, unironically, trying to move to Linux from Windows 11. The point that now we have Linux surpassing the percentage of Mac gamers. I know that doesn't sound like a major feat, but it is when you think about how many Macs are out there. So, yeah. For I2P instead of Tor. They're two different things. Two completely different use cases. But in that, Tor is more, you're browsing the network as a whole privately. I2P, it never leaves the cloud. The problem is I2P doesn't have as much maturity and community as Tor does. But I mean, I like it. I just haven't really delved too much into it. I've used it here and there. Non-Tor related Tor shirts tend to be pretty funny. Yeah. How does iPhone 17 Max protect against attacks? What kind of attacks? And there's nothing specific the iPhone 17 does that the other iPhones don't. There's more Linux gamers than Sims girlies? That's crazy. Is Linux been your choice growing up? For the most of my life, yeah. Well, at least since late high school. But I was in that era when I was leaving high school that I was using Mac and Linux. I was using Linux on my desktops and servers and home labs. And then Mac would be on my laptop because I had a Linux laptop. But years ago, Linux on a laptop was not that great. There was a lot of caveats around it, a lot of considerations. You know, we had to do NDIS wrappers around, your Wi-Fi card sometimes, or completely swap it. You had to be very particular about certain components. Your printers didn't always work, and all these things. Now it's a lot easier. God damn it, did I really just do that? But anyway, there we go. That's close enough. But yeah, like, so I kind of grew up with Linux being the thing I was always using. More or less one way or another. And I had an actual Unix workstation in my house thanks to my dad. Is Pop! OS Cosmic stable to run as a daily driver? Yeah, from what I hear, it's stable to run as a daily driver. I personally am waiting until 2604 in a few months to be released, and then I'll probably move over. But I hear good things.
Excellent username TuxSudo on Twitter tweeted, quote,
I know we rewatched this part, but I accidentally backed up.
Palantir, but it's become so prevalent and invasive, here we are, end quote. Eliano Yunus, head of strategic engagement, responded.
Oh yeah, Linux as a whole has improved in 20 years. And I think it's honestly going to get even better. Because here's the problem. We're seeing it firsthand, the enshittification of Windows, because they're needing to... Sorry, thought I heard something. We're consistently needing to make line go up on stocks. And they're now pushing this whole AI thing because they think that it's going to bring them more stock value and more value to the shareholders and the company as a whole. Because AI is the hype thing right now. Well, Linux as a community has been focusing on what people actually care about in an operating system. Performance and stability and reliability. Like... Linux has gotten radically faster. If you take the current operating system, put it on something like Tiny Core, or, even just some older computer that can still run on it, it's a lot faster as a whole. Whereas Windows actually is slowing down, and you'll actually notice Windows computers slow down over their lifetime because they keep bloating it up. EA is shutting down a game soon, but doesn't even let you launch it right now, even though what they said. Really. Windows is integrating Copilot AI to the File Explorer. We don't need Copilot in a File Explorer. We didn't need Copilot in Notepad. When I go to Notepad, I want it to be basic. I basically use you for quick and dirty notes and to strip out formatting when I need to.
Expecting Gamers Nexus to make a video on Palantir.
Failing rate of point profit will be the doom of so many companies. Yeah.
So a lot of content creators are leading into it to generate
falling rate.
So here we are, end quote. Now we immediately clicked Eliano's profile and found that he's
Mac OS then was just a working Linux. No, Mac and Linux are two completely different things. They have a similar lineage, but Mac is closer to FreeBSD, and it's built off the Mach and Darwin kernels, whereas Linux is, well, from the GNU background, and then has the Linux kernel. Integrating AI so people can't afford specs to use Windows. Oh, yeah.
His Twitter page.
It's bad.
GN logos in our main set. Let me tell you that's impressive. After pointing this out, Eliano attempted to correct us to note that we had missed a couple logos. Unfortunately, despite all the surveillance technology in the world, even Eliano missed one of the Palantir logos. Now, he's decked out in Palantir drip. This just feels gross to say, because he's the head of strategic engagement. Now, you might be asking, what does the head of strategic engagement do? And his formal job title at Palantir is Vibes, which makes sense.
What
given the vibe tweeting? Maybe the head of strategic engagement is because Twitter guy and merch guy don't sound as good. I mean, between those two roles, maybe we're not so different after all. Formerly, he was the strategic engagement and U.S. government partnerships lead at Palantir. Before that, he was simply evangelist. On the XKCD
just an evangelist.
D scale of evangelism, Eliano leads towards the people who open bananas from the other end. The intensity spectrum. That's because he really likes Palantir.
My job is rooted in the fact that I'm obsessed with Palantir.
Palantir drip slang for something. No, it's just in terms of, drip, clothing. It's what the kids are calling it these days. Drip is swag. I'm gonna be your millennial translator, I guess. Heard about Valve's new support for ARM CPUs? Yeah, we already have talked a little bit about that. We'll go deeper into it later. Maybe not tonight, because I came on really late. I was hoping to talk about that. The stream machine was messing up.
His job at Palantir is to control the
And that's the
narrative.
Linux box.
It's not our work.
I mean, the Windows box. The Linux box was working fine.
We're trying to tell the story of what Palantir did and didn't do. And quite frankly, I was sick and tired of it. I was sick and tired of people with bad intentions, many of them who are actually here. I was sick and tired of them telling our story. And so I took it upon myself to develop relationships, taking that skill from the nonprofit sector of telling stories, raising money. I wanted to do that for Palantir. And so I built relationships with think tank experts that were covering AI, that were covering government. And basically, I showed them demos. I didn't want to sell them anything. I just simply said, this is what we're doing. If you have questions, here I am. And developed those relationships. And then we started...
Oh, you were just making a joke? Oh, okay. It's hard to convey sarcastic tones.
What the company does and doesn't do.
And he tries to do just that. Wired previously wrote that Eunice threatened to call the cops when Wired asked questions at their booth at a trade show.
Wait,
He's
what?
not the only one at Palantir doing this either. Jack Paulson on Substack posted a photo captioned, quote, "Security guards demanding the author's ejection from the SCSP AI Expo Hall as a result of filming their ejection of a France 24 correspondent," end quote. That one attributed to Taylor Campbell of Palantir. Writer Caroline Haskins said, quote, "Palantir told me I was banned from its booth at a tech conference, didn't give a reason, and threatened
What the hell?
if I came back," end quote. She said, quote, "Palantir has become increasingly defensive towards perceived critics," end quote. To that, head of strategic engagement and author of Definitely Not Defensive.
Imagine how much Palantir's PR must be feeling, because they're going to be like, wait, there's a video out about you from this guy that has millions of followers, and they're not just regular tech people. They're gamers. Not the gamers!
497-word tweet, Eliano...
I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that just...
said he's going
you
to
get my
call
point.
out Haskins for, quote, "shatty," end quote, journalism. Oh shit. The real Slim
You have an ARM
Shady
CPU,
just
can play Fortnite on Linux,
He'll
fixing
act
the
like he
issue,
never seen a
blocking
drone
people.
fly before.
So yet another pro for having an x86 CPU. You don't have to play Fortnite. I'm not going to play Fortnite. I have no interest in playing Fortnite.
Among other ramblings, Slim Shady Eunice said that it's unethical for a reporter to quote people in a public space at a trade show designed to promote products if those people are unaware they are speaking to a reporter. First of all, not how that works.
Yeah.
The guy at Palantir is upset that somebody is listening to them and quoting them. I mean, it's just, the jokes kind of write themselves. Where Palantir, the company that's a war profiteer that publicly talks about how its product is used to kill people, is judging people on ethics. Specifically because they're being listened to and watched.
Palantir, how do you like it when the shoe's on the other foot and you're being listened to and you're being watched?
Sure. But back to the first point, reporters aren't cops. They don't have to reveal anything to you, especially at a public trade show where the product is being sold to to people walking around, businesses that are at that show, and reporters who are also at it. Like this.
Yeah, I can tell you from being at many trade shows, everything you do at a trade show is fair game. You are there. You are a public face of the company. Everything you can do or say makes you, basically a representative of the company while at the trade show. That's just how it is. If you don't like that, then don't go to the trade show and talk about your shit. The stream is terrible on TikTok. Well, the TikTok stream always is messing up, so Twitch, Kick, and YouTube are the better ones.
You don't have to reveal anything. And that's even assuming he's telling the truth about it not being revealed. Normally, you have a badge that says press on it. But okay, Eunice shifts the narrative, which is his self-stated job, and changes the topic to ethical reporting, calls her report a, quote, hit piece, end quote, and then pulls more tricks out of the deflection bag of holding and claims his comments were
Deflection bag of holding.
And so the strategic tweeter, and man definitely not proving a point about being defensive, elaborated by saying he would have gone to Alaska to mop floors as long as it meant working for Palantir, and that he is, quote, obsessed with the company, end quote. There's a word for that mentality. He closes by suggesting he or Palantir
That was smooth.
are owed an apology and complaining that reporters at a tech conference, quote, shoved a camera, end quote, in his face and shouted questions. That's right. Just to, once again, not to put too fine of a
He said there's a word for that, and then he cut to the guy and was like, a colt, and just cut back.
on it, but the Palantir guy was upset that somebody was recording him with a camera. That's all I have to say. Despite accusing us at
You heard
GNCA of
Nicole?
spreading misinformation across multiple replies to other users, Eliano Eunice never once stated any actual misinformation in our video. We checked. He just continually reiterated that our report was, quote, BS, end quote. And to that we say, it's okay, Eunice. You can swear on the internet. He never actually explained what the BS was, so we replied, quote, an endorsement from the Palantir head of strategic engagement himself. Neat. I like when the company that talks about how you're only safe when you make someone else scared accuses others of fear-mongering. Happy to meet you on camera, Eliano. It's strategic engagement, right? So Palantir's head of strategic engagement replied, stating, quote, I think we fundamentally disagree on the concept of peace through strength. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Peace is strength. Wait, no, it doesn't say that part. The head of strategic
Dude's reading out of the 1984 George Orwell. Why does he have, like, why is there Chinese on that? Is that Chinese? That looks like Chinese. But dude's reading out of 1984.
continued, quote, you're upset that CARP speaks openly and proudly about equipping our warfighters with the best capabilities so they can deter America's
I'm too
enemies.
excited for the Steam
or
frame. I can
eliminate
finally
them
play
where
Half-Life 2 and Portal 2
Furthermore, you
VR.
aren't
I
really
think that'll be
grasping the
interesting,
integral
but
role
I
that
like the
software
idea of
plays
using
in
it as a
preserving
TV.
privacy and civil liberties while simultaneously
And as a
allowing our
separate
government to
computer.
protect us from threats. You have every right to question whether or not the government can be trusted, but to assume that Palantir is the tool that they are using to break the law. Wait, did he just write? Let's read that again. But to assume that Palantir is the tool that they are using to break the law shows the lack of accuracy in your research, end quote. Now, first of all, the plain English implication here, based on how that sentence is written, is that the government is breaking laws just with a different tool. Let's move on. He continued, quote, I'm personally not going to meet you on camera, but shoot. I'll shoot you, but shoot. I'll shoot you a DM. Oh, okay. Okay, sure. A DM. Shoot me a DM. Sure. And we can work something out with one of my PCL colleagues or a member of the community. It's an important conversation to have, end quote. Now, the tweet strategist says that governments are using software to preserve civil liberties and protect us from threats. And this is all just for your protection. So, we have a response, of course, but let's just see what the internet had to say before us. All right, let's go through some of the internet's responses. Quote, as a veteran, man, do I hate the fucking term warfighter, end quote. Quote,
Oh,
does
jeez.
engagement fighters not have the same ring to it, end quote. Quote, if service member is good enough for the life insurance plan, it's good enough for general usage, end quote. Quote, there's no fucking way that you're talking about preserving privacy. Your company does nothing but do its best to strip
I like that he has a Clippy.
our privacy away, end quote. Quote, you guys are literally making surveillance software that will operate on American citizens against their will.
Can a Lego set be written off as a business expense? Potentially, yeah. Look, if I buy a Lego set and I put that together on stream, tax deduction. I may be oversimplifying things, but basically, if it's used in the course of business, yeah.
Natural rights isn't peace through strength.
You make a video about it.
What a fucking sidestep response. Spying on Americans does not preserve civil liberties, Lamau. Wimpy Manlet, you are a fucking war criminal. Hey, can you describe your job in 3 words, or is it made up? Head of strategic engagement. So, the social media guy? The most overcomplicated way ever to say social media guy. Peak wanker job title. What a fake ass sounding position. Assume
How many of these is he gonna put up?
Palantir is a tool used to break the law. My brother in Christ, you literally called it Palantir, like my murder cannon of death and suffering TM is totally safe and fun and used only for good and not a weapon at all, ass statement. I think you should be in jail. How's that for peace through strength? I love how you went from social media tough guy to I'm not gonna be on camera, someone else will. Bro, you gotta be the most bitch-made dude on the internet today, end quote. Jesus fucking Christ. Remind me not to fuck with you guys. Like, you guys are brutal. The internet is absolutely brutal. This is, I don't think do I even need to respond? I don't know that I need to respond after that. Jesus fuck. All right, well, look, mine's not going to be as impassioned as some of these. I mean, I got to give credit to the guy who said the murder cannon of death and suffering and trademarked it. That's pretty good.
That is a great one. Man, these are far more creative than I would have ever been able to come up with. But Palantir can suck my...
But we'll do our best here. Here's our response to the response of him responding to our response of our video. Response. First of all, you said he wouldn't appear on camera, but he said we have a right to question the government. We see Palantir as an extension of the government, and Palantir may even agree with us. In a 2020 blog post, Palantir said, quote, technology companies should be scrutinized, especially when their technology is used by governments, end quote. To Eunice, we replied with this, quote, big change in tone from you. Thanks for acknowledging that we have a right to question you and the government. We'll arrange a time to meet you at your office on camera to do so. All conversations and DMs will be considered on record and will be shared with the public. We'll be in touch, end quote. Eunice responded, quote, we are all about tough questions and debate at Palantir. You rightfully made a video, I watched and rightfully called BS. Love the fact that you want to come to our office. We will do something cool. Look forward to hearing from you. Beer cheers emoji, end quote. Sure. We'll do something cool. As for calling BS, Eunice was challenged multiple times by Twitter users and repeatedly stated that he could offer resources to debunk our report, but never once produced those resources. Users replied asking, and he ghosted them. But it might help to know more about the people who just, after the first rejection, accepted our attempt to appear on camera to talk about
Okay.
Palantir. Before working at Palantir, the head of strategic engagement, Eunice was the director of development for the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library Foundation and Institute, which has proven a useful connection for him, since the foundation has hosted Alex Karp in the past.
And safe means...
Kids in marketing are about to have a field day with building Lego for marketing purposes. Probably. I'm here to declare that I really much so enjoy the P1 Lego set. The very big one, if you know the sweatshop they house them in, let me know.
CSIS as a campaign coordinator and executive officer. CSIS, or the Center for Strategic and International Studies, previously published an article titled, quote, Facial Recognition and Fear, end quote, in which it gaslights readers into thinking facial recognition at a global scale is totally safe and not abusable. CSIS wrote, quote, it is particularly worrisome that many of the concerns expressed over facial recognition and AI are hypothetical. We would want to determine, for example, how many false arrests there have been because of the use of facial recognition technologies, end quote. Actually, it's probably better to think about those things before the false arrests happen. That would be preferable. And since 2019, there have been a lot more false arrests as a result of AI facial recognition technologies. If they had just addressed this in 2019 instead of hand-waving it and outright dismissing it, those might not have happened. Eunice's former employer, CSIS, also wrote this, quote, Americans say they want innovation, but innovation only comes with risk. Risk-free innovation is a non sequitur. Speaking of non sequitur, and we're not really going to get into this, but CSIS then randomly brought vaccination into the discussion.
Wait, what?
But why have so many Americans come to fear technology? One salient example is the anti-vaxxers, who managed to change measles from a disease close to eradication to one that is again flourishing, end quote. We're not going to talk about that today.
Pick a leaf, drop it in the bucket. That was so left field.
It's not really the scope of this.
Ronald Reagan might be having one of the best.
By the literal definition.
Ronald Reagan might be one of the best at having his name related to some of the worst things to happen in human history. Yep.
Non sequitur, which is what they're trying to smokescreen and bullshit everyone else into thinking when they say they're concerned about facial recognition technology being installed all over the fucking world at this point. It's like diseases have nothing to do with cameras spying on you, and with facial recognition, and with pre-crime. It is whataboutism, and it's deflection, and it is completely unrelated to any of this. Quote, fears about facial recognition bear some similarity to the surge in conspiracy
Gamers
theories.
Nexus.
Fears that government
We're
use
watching the
of facial recognition
Palantir
technology
thing.
will lead to the pervasive surveillance systems seen in China are irrational, end quote. Now, they never say why it's irrational. It is literally the most direct line you could possibly draw. It's like 2 points that create a line segment, and it probably the only difference is that China wished they had thought of this particular approach to it first, which is put the surveillance under private corporations under the guise of some sort of separation from government, and then publicly trade and inflate them to boost the economy while also reducing civil liberties. That's probably really the thing that we innovated here. Quote, brother reflects
Pretty
declining
true.
confidence in government, particularly elected officials.
1984 is just in the background. Is it?
The
It is! Didn't notice that. I like that he does that. Sometimes I actually do that in the background of my videos too, as I put things that are like, I want to see if people will catch up onto it. Eventually I'm going to start doing some more things. I won't tell you what. You're just going to have to figure it out. Oh, on that note, Vampire, I fixed all the Docker containers that were firing off alerts. It was tied to my network being down earlier. They had some stale Docker states from when I was trying to fix that. So everything should be back up and running, including the Discord bot and such.
We innovated here. Quote, this fear of Big Brother reflects declining confidence in government, particularly elected officials, to provide adequate oversight. They also wrote, quote, the disparity in views
Bringing
of facial
hidden
recognition in
faces
Asia
into
and the
clips.
United States is also worrying. Facial recognition technologies are widely used in Asia, but there's been no outcry about discrimination, end quote. Actually, there has been. In fact, the U.S. government has previously...
Oh, so the delay was just that I got the bot working. So I've been working on that in the background. See, they were not working for a while. So if you see, that was when I first came in. I'm like, wait, Yo Mama and Star Demon are running, but Penguin Overlord wasn't, BoonTube wasn't, Stream Demon wasn't. So now they're all up and running.
A former Silver Lake investment, the company that helped Jared Kushner buy EA Games, on the entity list for publishing patents that describe using facial recognition technology to identify surveilled people's ethnic background, listing Uyghurs as an example of people ethnically identifiable via facial recognition technology. And that can happen here too. In fact, it's already happening here. U.S. government agencies have used Palantir technology to surveil and profile people, including U.S. citizens. We talked about that in our last piece. So now we know more about Eunice's background. He's also a Palantir merch guy and ardent Palantir defender on Reddit and Twitter, two platforms known for constructive, thoughtful
Who the hell
conversations and
buys
dialogue
Palantir merch unironically?
But Palantir has it hard on the internet. A lot of people think they're evil. Quote, why don't the Palantir spying accounts like to engage in healthy discourse? End quote, wrote Eliano Eunice, who previously responded to healthy discourse.
Because there's nothing healthy about wanting to invade the privacy of another individual.
With, quote, you're such a dumb fuck, Sam, end quote. And, quote, if you're upset now, it's gonna get worse, much worse. Take care, big boy, end quote. But as long as the posts aren't, quote, low IQ, end quote, or critical, they're seemingly acceptable. When he's not defending surveillance technology, he's defending crew necks, or high prices of shirts and hoodies, which somehow even exceed YouTuber merch prices. But edgelord's gonna edgelord. Let's get back to the core of this piece, which is what Palantir actually fucking does. And in this case, we're gonna talk more about some of the surveillance contracts that Palantir has, since this is seemingly what Eliano Eunice was trying to, quote, call BS on, and we'd be happy to talk to him some more about that once we get up to DC to talk to them. As the merch guy Eunice took heat for selling Palantir hoodies that cost $100, he said he was trying to reduce cost and prices, quote, will go down eventually, end quote, after which the prices went up by $40. Now,
Jesus!
I promise this is going to be relevant in a moment. If you're wondering why a Palantir hoodie would cost $140, it's because Palantir, quote, is a lifestyle brand, end quote, selling...
I'm sorry, what? Palantir is a lifestyle? No. You're an Orwellian brand. The closest you can get is Orville Redenbacher popcorn. Because you're that close to being Orwellian, and that's the best I can think of in terms of food or any kind of brand or thing that you might be related to. Except I definitely would have Orville Redenbacher, but I won't have Palantir. If not Colt, why Colt shaped? I didn't know they had merch. Not only their designs aren't bad for corpo merch. Yeah, but like, who unironically is going to wear this shit? Like, I've worked with some pretty famous brands, okay? I have not wanted to rep a lot of them. Now, I will put it this way. You give me free stuff, I will use said free stuff. Why do I use this CrowdStrike, bottle down here? Simple. It was free, and it's a good bottle. Why do I have this Proofpoint little box over here for my speaker? Simple. Because it was free, and it looks pretty. That's the only reason why there's some corpo crap on my thing. Well, that and the cool alpaca and the panther stuffed animal, or like I've paid for like plushtodons. By the way, this is the latest Mastodon plushtodon. I have the bigger one over here on top of the computer. You can't see it. But that's the plushtodon. Why did I buy that? Because I wanted to support the Mastodon Foundation that makes the Mastodon, social media, decentralized, software. And, it's cute. See? Anyway. Will I make OnlyFans content in it? Probably. I'll wear Palantir merch when I'm redacted. I have a whole Home Depot apron in my dresser I got from work. Okay, that has a use. You can use the apron for, when you're doing like cooking or, you're doing woodwork or, whatever there. The apron actually has usability. But, yeah. Yeah, the YouTube chat's working. We can hear you, Nostalgia! I also have a pair of work gloves. Oh, you do?
Merch and ice.
You can just kind of see Palantir for what it is, which is this beautiful...
Wait, what did he say?
Merch and ice.
You can just kind of see Palantir for what it is, which is this beautiful company that is backed by a beautiful product and people that really care about doing good things.
Now, our concerns remain for tools that companies like Flock with Flock cameras and Palantir produce for software.
If you don't take from your work, you aren't getting full value. Boss makes $1, I make a dime, and that's why I poop on company time. I agree.
Companies that can buy, trade, and sell this data to use to create complete profiles on everything you do, everywhere you go.
Mr. City off by FOIA requesting Flock videos. There's a lot of cities that are dropping that.
This is not a new concern, but this is the core of our concerns, and we don't want to get too distracted from that, because like we talked about last time, this kind of stuff, surveillance just in general, not just Palantir here, can be used for anything from military use cases, which is where Palantir sort of specializes, to things that are more focused on just making profit. For example, monitoring where you go, stand, and what you consider buying in a grocery store using existing data out there about you, your financial and economic situation, to fine-tune.
I request new phone charger wires from work every 90 days. I should start doing that.
Pushing everybody just to the limits of what they can afford. This is a thing that is actually happening, especially in some.
Get some new USB-C cables.
So the surveillance has wide-reaching implications. It's not all just evil use. I mean, well, that's pretty evil, but it's a different kind of evil. In 2018, The Verge reported on
TikTok's
a
crappy.
System that
Go to
Palantir
Twitch,
was
Kick, and YouTube.
working on with the New Orleans police. The Verge said the system was, quote, essentially a predictive policing program that purports to predict which people are likely drivers or victims of violence, end quote. Further, The Verge uncovered Palantir documents that are now available on Document Cloud. One document, titled NOLA Murder Reduction, includes the data sources analyzed in Palantir's software. The data includes public safety records, police reports, gang databases, building details, and camera registries, among other sources. We're back to the Minority Report precogs with this one. Shockingly, or maybe not, Palantir
That's
declined
scary.
to The Verge. In a subsequent article, The Verge said New Orleans' contract with Palantir had ended.
Speaking of precogs, the only difference between this and the, Minority Report is Tom Cruise, human minds being able to power the precog, functions, and we don't have the cool monitors. Worst mobile experience on those platforms. I don't know. It is what it is. TikTok has just been crap lately.
In a recent example, government documents from April described how Palantir is working with U.S. Immigrations and Customs to build what media called an Immigration OS for data analysis and surveillance. According to federal documents that we dug up on a General Services Administration website, Palantir's Immigration OS software serves several key functions. Immigration OS would help ICE with, quote, targeting and enforcement prioritization, end quote, which includes, quote, streamlining selection and apprehension operations, end quote, of criminals and people who have overstayed a visa. Additionally, the software would support, quote, self-deportation tracking, end quote, with, quote, near real-time visibility into instances of self-deportation and integration with enforcement prioritization systems, end quote. Nothing says lifestyle brand like building stuff that tracks people in near real time. And whatever your belief on immigration and legal or illegal immigration, none of it really matters here because this stuff can all be turned against anybody. And in fact, citizens...
And that's ultimately the problem because people look at government as this entire entity, but you still have to judge it by the person in office. And that's why I always tell people, be careful, like, when, this is why I tell people, it doesn't matter what jersey is in office right now. And I get upset at Democrats that don't hold Democratic leaders accountable because, they're doing things that they're okay with their people being in power. And I'm like, but what happens when the Republicans get in power and have that same capability to do the same things? Will you be able to hold them accountable for that? And most of the time, it seems like they ignore when it's their own person. Like, look at Donald Trump and all the things he's done. He's gone against what he was promising. He's gone against what a lot of Republicans were probably talking about and wanting to do. Like, oh, we're going to reduce the amount of wars. Definitely a freaking lie. Oh, we're going to make the economy great. That's basically been a lie. And he's looking to the stock market, which is really just being propped up by AI. But the stock market is one indicator of a healthy economy when we're actually seeing job losses, not job growth there. But yeah. What's up, Master Mannequin? Authoritarian light versus authoritarian heavy. Yeah. And, ultimately, I tell people you can't judge somebody by the party they affiliate with, because let's even look at, I hate to pull a Godwin's Law here immediately. If you don't know what that is, the logical fallacy that deals with that, and eventually every argument will come down to calling each other Yahtzees. But, the funny mustache man came in calling that himself a national socialist, but we know in the end goal, he wasn't actually doing much in the way of socialism. He was fascism, and yeah. If Kamala was in office, we'd be at brunch. That's the issue. Yep.
Have already been arrested in connection with technologies like...
But everything Kamala said about what happened to the economy, she's been on point so far.
We had the example previously...
Is Tor even safe anymore? Yeah, it's safe. Just don't do anything stupid.
Lead to wrongful arrests where people then are awarded potentially millions of dollars when they are proven right that it was a wrongful arrest because the police trusted an AI facial recognition technology that had a false positive, even though basically none of the other demographic information matched, such as height, age, eye color, and profession, things like that. Anyway, as for the lifestyle brand, maybe we'll get our version of social credit score for repping Palantir drip when the surveillance cameras see us. Additionally, the ICE documents...
Wait a second. Is he wearing an Onion t-shirt? I think he is. I just love he has a perfect t-shirt that says, I love corporations, the Onion.
Palantir drip when the surveillance cameras see us. Additionally, the ICE document said, quote, Palantir is the only source that can provide the required capabilities and prototype of immigration OS.
They didn't even use AI to spell check this.
Without causing unacceptable delays, end quote. Those spelling errors would be embarrassing if they came from a federal agency after English was designated the official language of the United States. Further, ICE said Palantir systems, quote, are already
His text even better on it.
ingesting and processing data from multiple ICE, DHS, and external sources necessary to deliver these capabilities. This allows ICE to leverage the existing infrastructure already in the ICE environment to accelerate the timely delivery for Immigration OS, end quote. Now, it's unclear what data the so-called external sources that they're referring to provide. Now, the reason we're getting into all of this sort of ICE and ICE use of Palantir software is because Palantir regularly insists that it is not a surveillance company. So it's not about immigration and what we or anyone else thinks about that.
That
It's
would
about
not
the
be
fact
outside
that
of Steve
Palantir
Stevenism
says
to wear
they
an
don't
Onion
use
News merch shirt.
And they say that, we think, because they want to make sure people's guard
It is! It is! I saw at the bottom. It said the Onion. Okay.
and people think that it's not used in this way. It's used for things like Lowe's Logistics, as NVIDIA and the Palantir team said, or it's used for war or something like that. But actually, this company that says it's not really a surveillance company sure seems to do a lot of surveillance stuff. So, for example, in another document we found about Immigration OS from October, ICE said Palantir would continue to, quote, refine the deployed operational solutions that streamline identification of aliens who are out of status, prioritize based on risk factors, provide targeting data to the field in support of daily operations, and inform custody determinations, and track the status of deported aliens, allowing for officers and agents to have real-time data in the field, end quote. This is a description of a very surveillance-rich piece of software.
Yeah, it is.
Itself, a customer of Palantir, considering that Palantir insists that it is not a surveillance company. But Palantir works with ICE to provide software.
If not surveillance, why surveillance shaped? Let's relate to Linux.
And to
If I
quote
host
the
a
EFF,
Snowflake,
ICE just
do I have a
went on
chance to be an
quote,
exit node on the
surveillance
Tor net?
shop.
No. So Snowflake, in terms of Tor, is you're more like a bridge. So you're like the pre-entry. So before they can safely, in many dangerous countries to free speech and such, they basically have to do an initial hop. Now, this is where the argument of VPNs have always come into place for that, but in the USA, it's really irrelevant. The same in the EU or that, because we have free access to Tor entry nodes. So before they can access a Tor entry node, they first have to make that hop. Before, we used to bridge a connection. And this is more or less acting like that, but in a more decentralized manner. Palantir runs on Linux. Bam! Any advice for Linux server admin? Little bit wide. Got to be more specific. What advice are you looking for?
Free, end quote. The EFF
Will the Snowflake be an entry node? No, it's not an entry node. It's more of a bridge. It's what lets them get that first, the ability to get over their censorship walls by looking like regular traffic, and then they can hit an entry node. So you are allowing their connection in before it hits Tor. That's at least my understanding of it. I could be wrong. If I am, let me know. But that's, as far as I remember, I think how it operates.
End quote. It also says that, quote, ICE was tracking the movements of drivers in cities home to 3 and 4 adults, end quote, and that ICE utilizes surveillance dragnets, utility records, and data collection to track people, including citizens. Just recently, and shortly before publishing this video, ICE shot and killed a 37-year-old American citizen in Minneapolis. ICE had deployed 2,000 agents to Minnesota a few days prior in the, quote, largest immigration operation ever, end quote. As part of the operation, the Department of Homeland Security said it had arrested more than 1,000 people in Minnesota. After the killing, the Minneapolis mayor had a message for ICE.
To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
Now, this is highly relevant to the topic today. ICE is an agency that claims to be dedicated to immigration enforcement. They are actively deploying technology against American citizens born in the United States to surveil them. So these are people who shouldn't even really...
Did you hear about the ICE shooting with that lady in the car? You know what U.S. law is about a car being shot at? You're not allowed to shoot at a car to disable it. You're not even supposed to... You're supposed to use it as a last means of resort, and in their own manual says if you can get out of the way of the car, then you can't fire. Will they be held accountable? Probably not. But the guy did get doxxed, apparently. They found out he has a Filipino wife, and they weren't very clear on her immigration status, apparently. Irony! If not Gestapo, why Gestapo saved? Vodio was 100% murder. Who hasn't heard about it? I was avoiding watching the videos about it, but I gave up. Yeah, eventually I saw the actual video of this stuff from different angles, but yeah. Incident should have never happened. I hate this timeline. Tragedy. Yeah, it should have never happened. It was completely avoidable. But the problem is we're hiring border control, ICE agents that don't have the temperament to be doing law enforcement. You need a lot of restraint just as a firearm owner. Okay? Because you can't be the type of person to immediately grab your gun at any incident, or, as has been documented in communications with ICE members between themselves, be looking forward to actually shoot someone. A good officer hopes every day that they can keep their gun holstered and they don't have to fire at anything other than paper or wood targets. That's how officers are supposed to respond. I know that because once upon a time, I wanted to be a cop myself. Long story behind that. We'll get into another time. And that's what I was told by several people that were in the force. You should never be, you can enjoy firearms as a hobby and everything, but you should never be looking forward to shooting someone, and when you actually do, while even if it's justified, you're gonna feel potentially very remorseful about it, because it is a heavy weight to take a life. Didn't Ice Barbie dox him? I don't know if she did. F-Ice, JD Vance is saying that ICE has absolute immunity. No, they don't. They don't. They have, crap. What's the, there's a legal statute for the, that police can only be charged under prior precedent that's been set, something like that. You know what I'm talking about? The thing that keeps cops from being held accountable a lot of the time. But yeah. And that's on Cisco Networking Academy. Never taken it personally. I hear some good things, but yeah. Wanting to actually shoot someone is psychotic at best. The only time I ever want to shoot someone is in Doom, Fallout, Wolfenstein, which, by the way, Wolfenstein 3 is coming out. You know, like in a game. Or paintball. Or laser tag. And those are all acceptable answers. I think, seriously, there's been maybe 2 times in my entire life I've even brandished a firearm. 3, actually. And all were justified. One was when I almost got carjacked. Definitely justified there. The other time was some road raging guy got out of his car and tried to, you know, punch the car and everything, and I literally just took it and put it on the dash, and I looked at him, and I'm just like, really? You want to do this? And that's when he backed off and went back to his car, which is the response you want to see. People are a little bit too hot-headed sometimes. Or Nerf guns, or water guns. That's fair. Qualified immunity. Thank you, Just Dev. That's what I was thinking of. Why did J.D. Vance say that then? Why did he lie about ICE having absolute immunity? I don't know. Why has Donald Trump lied about a lot of things? Why has Donald Trump also said, these things? And why is, J.D. Vance, I mean, he can go fuck a couch for all I care. He seems to like that anyway. J.D. Vance is as two-faced as Donald Trump and a lot of these other politicians. Plain and simple. Use guns I've used bare hands or scrap. Yeah. But yeah, have you seen the Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones scene when the guys with the scimitar laying all around and then he just pulls out his gun and shoots them? You're the guy with the scimitars. I'm the guy with the gun.
ICE has arrested and detained hundreds of people.
Veteran on TikTok commented that 18-year-olds in deployment are required to have more restraint in dealing with the moving threats than, IEDs and trucks. Yeah, totally can understand that.
Under ICE. ICE has arrested and detained hundreds of people, including more than 170 U.S. citizens, according to ProPublica. Palantir has profited from ICE contracts for years, including multiple multi-million-dollar deals within the last year, according to documents on the Federal Procurement Data System. However, ICE is just one of many federal agencies that work with Palantir. Other agencies include the Army, FBI, Air Force, National Institutes of Health, IRS, and U.S. Special Operations Command. According to USAspending.gov, the federal government has awarded $3.6 billion to Palantir.
170 arrests feels way too low. Well, yeah, because, Donald Trump made up this lie about how illegal immigration is ruining the country and damaging us, and it's not nearly as prevalent as he let it out to be. Either that, or a combination, or could it just be they're as incompetent and wasteful as they claim the Democrats are? And for the record here, I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. They all suck. It's so weird how some of their wives are people of color, shall we say, yet they have issues with immigrants. Yeah, I find that weird too. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian, if I recall. What was it? Some of the white supremacist ones were saying well, we don't want to vote for J.D. Vance when comes the next election because he's got a wife that's a person of color. And they'd rather vote for the governor of California. God, my brain is fried today. The governor of California, they'd rather vote for him because apparently he has a white family. That's just how messed up this whole thing is when you think about it. I have a lot of undoc and illegal friends who are more American than MAGA. I've met a lot of people like that too. Because the other immigrants are effing them. And they pay taxes. Most of them won't get taxes back nor SSA. Yep. Newsom, Gavin Newsom, thank you. I don't know why I'm so bad with names today.
Department of Defense as the top bankroller. The Department of Homeland Security,
Raphael Ted Cruz,
ICE, has spent the third most with Palantir. The company also recently landed a $10 billion contract through 2035 with the Army. In its last quarterly SEC filing, Palantir reported that 55% of its revenue came from government sources for the 9 months that ended on September 30th, 2025, and 73% of Palantir's revenue came from U.S. customers. The U.S. government is Palantir's sugar daddy, and maybe that makes sense why NVIDIA is cozying up to them. The two have spent a lot of time courting the U.S. government. So
that is an image.
Eunice said, we have a right to question the government, which wasn't really what we were doing.
Any advice using Docker as a container?
As I said before, we see Palantir as an
I mean, I make a lot of Dockers myself. You can look at my GitHub for
Palantir makes millions
how to code it, but
from U.S. government and taxpayer
I think it's great.
Palantir may want to change its public perception to be seen more positively, which seemingly is why it now calls itself a lifestyle brand through the words of Eliano Yunus himself. But selling merchandise won't be able to whitewash how its technology is used for surveillance.
Microsoft selling Xboxes doesn't change the fact that they're a software company, even though they sell hardware. It's the same thing.
And for targeting, and Palantir's tagline is, quote,
download Docker and start using it, find a container you want to use and use it.
That we'd arrange a time to meet with them. We have an email out now to Palantir's PR team. Check your inboxes, please, to arrange a visit.
Flu virus is very high. You might have caught a light version. Yeah, that's why I got the flu shot. Y'all should get your flu shot. I also got my COVID shot. I got the recent COVID shot. My doctor was, saying because I'm asthmatic, I probably should do that. And even if they get the flu shot wrong, which they do sometimes, it helps you at least keep from getting hospitalized.
Said, all of our conversations with Palantir will be treated as on record, and we will share the information with you. Palantir, when you're watching this, let's be 100% fucking clear. Not a single goddamn thing will be off record. All right? All of it is on record. As a closing point, we'd like to formally enter into Palantir's video editing competition. On December 2nd, Eliano strategically tweeted that people good at creating and editing videos would receive some free Palantir Fit for the best 45-second cut of a Palantir Carp edit. Now, we're good at creating and editing videos, so here's our attempt at it.
We stand for the rule of law.
I had all sorts of fantasies of using drone-enabled technology to exact revenge.
We are highly ethical, but don't believe us on that.
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
We are very comfortable
Jesus! That is a sentence! I need to bring that back.
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
We are very comfortable being
light fentanyl-laced urine for analysts who tried to screw us. I feel like some tacos. Adios. Need to do that, actually. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah.
popular. You know, you're unpopular. It's not pleasant.
Yeah, go get your shots, guys. Actually. And gals. Theys and thems.
To disrupt
everybody.
The institutions we partner with, the very best in the world. And when it's necessary to scare.
I feel like I could be friends with this guy if he wasn't evil and stuff. Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, I'm going to have to remember that statement. Like, if he wasn't actually, like, my arch enemy, basically, when it comes to privacy rights, he seems like a pretty cool dude.
And on occasion kill them.
Not only was the patriotism right, the patriotism make you rich.
I don't think in win-lose. I think in domination.
I am as obnoxious in private as I am with you.
Eliano Yunus
He said it, not me.
He declined being on camera before we pushed, at which point he accepted on behalf of Palantir. We won't hold the initial declination against him, and from one merch guy of strategic engagement to another, we'll even offer him a surveillance-free GM t-shirt when we visit. So, that's the plan. We'll be in touch with Palantir if they respond, if they were serious about their invitation the second time they responded, but this is the company that responded to us. The fact